Welcome to episode 5 of the Freedom Hustles podcast, the podcast dedicated to all the best hassle-free hustles to give you more time, money and freedom. I am Andy Lehman, owner of freedomskillsacademy.com, and he is John Banks, the owner of sideincomeman.com. So, okay, John, welcome. And what are we talking about today?
Hiya. So, episode 5. So today we're going to be talking a little bit about how to build a seed fund. So how to get started off. So if you want to build up some money, that perhaps then you want to invest into, other bigger, further opportunities online. So what do we mean by that? So things like eBay, your basic stuff, you're buying and selling, that sort of thing. Perhaps you could set up some kind of small gigs in your area, local stuff, this type of thing. So just little kind of side hustles. You're not going to make you a millionaire, but you could make, just sort of make a few extra quid, like maybe to get like a base pot, maybe make like £1,000 or £500. And then with that money, then you can go on and, if you want to get website hosting, or if you want to invest in a course, or if you want to, I don't know, put a pot of money aside to do some sports trading, or if you want to do stocks, or obviously you need to get that money to start with. So that's kind of what today is about.
So this is investment money then we've talked previously about building up an email list. You mentioned getting your hosting. We talked about writing an ebook using rev.com and stuff. So these are things like you want to do something, but you need money to fund it. But trying to find that money isn't necessarily available probably from your wage or whatever you've got spare. So you need to find something to help build that pot up. So you mentioned eBay and things like that. You've got quite a bit of history and expertise there in eBay.
Yeah, so eBay is always, for me, again, I say, so I guess the nuts and bolts of this podcast is, like you say, to build up a little pot or a fund that you could use to go on and invest in something else. But take that aside, it can also be everything we're going to talk about today. You can also just do anyway. These are great little side hustles all the time. And although I've kind of reined in a lot of my stuff that I used to do, like eBay and Amazon and all that, I've kind of stopped doing that so much now. I don't do so much of that. But I still do every now and again. For me, eBay is almost like the king of the side hustles for me, because you can literally turn it on and off whenever you want. You don't have to have eBay shops, and you don't have to pay all that sort of stuff out. You can just run it kind of when you want to. So eBay, I'm a big fan of eBay, and I know there's fees, but then if you think about how many eyes you can get your product in front of, then it's not a big deal at all if you just take the fees into account. So what do we sort of mean? So things like, if you go to, like, we're in the UK here, so we would be familiar with things like the car boot sale, okay? And things like charity shops and jumble sales. I guess in the US, it's slightly different, but it's things like garage sales, and they call it thrift stores. Thrifting, I think, is there's a whole kind of community around that in the US. So basically, you're looking one of the old classic business models of going back hundreds of years, which is basically to buy something at a cheap price and then sell it at a more expensive price. It's just the classic arbitrage model, and eBay is a brilliant platform for that. So
that's flipping, isn't it? That's what they call basically buy something
flipping cheap stuff. Yeah, going back one step before that, you could start off just sell a load of stuff. Start off, go around your house, get rid of a load of stuff that you don't need. Go right back to basics, flip it, get rid of all your DVDs, and even like brands and shoes and trainers and clothing brands. You'll be amazed at what's in your house. I guarantee every house has got 500 quid just lying around. And what you think isn't worth anything, you'll be surprised. So, and then you kind of grow it from there. It's a really good way of getting started, actually making some extra money, learning what products are worth. And you can do this on eBay by using the completed listings. So if you basically just, if you think, oh, I don't know what that's worth, for example, I don't know, if you've got a pair of Converse high top boots, right? I always like to use this example because they are just an easy seller. They'll just sell all the time. And you can literally just type in Converse high top boots, black, size 8, right? And then you'll get every single listing on the website, on the eBay site. And then if you just filter it and just filter out the completed listings and the sold listings, it will show you how much they sell for. And this is used. So you know that if a used pair's going for 15 quid and you can pick them up in a charity shop for £2, take your fees off, give or take a couple of pounds, you're going to be making £10 virtually every time. So if you do 10 flips of that nature, every month, there's another £100, and it doesn't have to be complicated.
Well, that's the great thing about eBay. Like you say, everybody's got access to it. You can do it on your mobile phone, and I mean, I've done quite well out of eBay. Just going back quickly to the fees, if you think about people don't like paying fees, no one does like paying fees, but if you were to open up a stall or a shop somewhere on a market, or open up a shop, you'd be paying out rent and rates, and that's without selling anything. At least with eBay, you pay when you sell something.
Yeah.
So it's a business expense, so you've got to expect it. But I mean, you've seen all sorts of stuff sold on eBay. But as you said about going through some of your old stuff in your house, just recently I sold a load of my old hip hop magazines because I was into hip hop and graffiti books. I've gone through and sold a load of my old records, which, quite surprisingly, I've not even touched half my record collection. And I had quite a few sort of rarities. I didn't realise they were as expensive as they were, but I had Discogs to go to. And I think I generated over between £5,000 and £6,000 just selling a few of my records and my graffiti magazines.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. But I mean, I remember when you were doing this, and then obviously you kind of, we don't want to get too technical about the whole thing, but I remember you kind of took it to another level, didn't you? You weren't just, you were promoting them in like Facebook groups and that, weren't you?
Yeah. I mean, there's a big revival at the moment for the old school music, the old school ravers, and I think a lot of the middle-aged ravers, now that the kids have gone to university or left home, they've got a bit of spare money, they're reliving their youth, so they're trying to track down these records. And Facebook's full of these groups, and so I started going in there. I set up my own Facebook page, Instagram page, and then I did run a few Facebook ads, but on the whole, basically, a lot of it was free. And the amount of money that I made from it is kind of was a bit surprising. I think I'm left now with a lot of the records are only worth £1. Probably won't have much success, but
you can just bulk them up or whatever, can't you? Yeah.
Well, that's it. I mean, there's groups on Facebook that you can sell without having to go through eBay. There's trading places for records and stuff. As with everything else, I mean, you've been selling all kinds of things on eBay, haven't you? It's
crazy. I mean, I there isn't anything that I haven't. No, I don't. Well, I don't shy away from many kind of categories on there, because if you open your mind up and if you learn about as much as you can with regards to, what sells, and it's amazing how quick, you could build up quite a decent stock. The trouble with me is it is scalable. Don't get me wrong. I mean, you could scale it. You can reinvest, keep buying more stuff. The missus got a bit fobbed off in the end because I had like just hordes of bags of clothes and things like that. My office became a stock room, but it wasn't for me in the end. It is not a thing that I would want to pursue actively, because it is eventually a time and versus money thing. Okay, people get it's not a passive income stream. It is a work. You're doing work. Okay, that's fine. It is a great way to earn extra money, and it is a great starting block. I see it as a kind of, for anyone that's never done anything online or never sold anything, then I always recommend, start off there. Learn learn the basics of, you know, how to list an item, and because these are all things that will eventually kind of help with regards to, you know, kind of everything else. You know, you are essentially selling something still. So yeah, it is a great platform for that. And I still can't avoid a bargain. You know, even the other day, I remember I got offered some things that I knew there was money in it still. So there was a PlayStation 4 and it was brand new in its box, and he wanted £150 for it, and I was like, it's a bit of an outlay, but I know it's going to be 250. So I thought, well, yeah, you know, you just do it, because I couldn't leave it there. I had to just do it. So yeah, just quickly flipped it around, and you know, it was a couple of days, if that, and then, you know, there's an extra £100. But I don't do it for, that's not a, I don't use it as a massive kind of income stream anymore. I just drop in and out. But
yeah, but that £100 then could be something that, I mean, obviously you had to have the £150 to buy in the first place, but that £100 is now something extra, which, as you say, will go on to something else, which, if you've got your plan in place and you know what you're doing, could be a lot more profitable in the long run.
Well, that could hire my VA for 2 months.
Yeah.
So, and that's the kind of way you've got to look at it. You know, if you want to use it for something like that,
yeah.
You know, if you have a VA or virtual assistant that runs your social media campaigns, or it just does all your tweets for you, or, you know, builds your Pinterest pins, that's another thing that you've taken care of, which ultimately frees up your time to do more things. Like we've kind of talked about this on a previous episode, but yeah.
Some of the things I've seen selling on eBay, I mean, one of the first things I used to sell on eBay was, I suppose it's not necessarily an information product, because those things, they stopped doing them, but because I like graffiti, I went and took a load of photographs in the 90s from when I went to Amsterdam or Copenhagen and Sheffield and Manchester, and I scanned all the photos and put them on a CD.
Yeah.
And I started selling them. That was my kind of first cheap sort of into the world of sort of digital marketing, so to speak.
Yeah.
So I was burning these CDs and then just popping them in an envelope and sending them off, which I sold on eBay. But with eBay, there's a market for all kinds of things. I mean, we've sold T-shirts on there, we sold paintings, but looking at trying to keep costs down, because you had to pay that £150 for that PlayStation. There are things that people can do, like you say, you can go to charity shops and get things for quite cheap, for pennies. But I've seen people selling things that they've gathered up for free.
You
can get pallets, you can cut them up. It's a bit labour intensive, and there's a little bit of sort of money in there, but they take pallets and they paint artwork on them, or they cut them into shapes or make bird boxes out of them. Like then labour intensive, but it's free stuff. I've even seen a product where people have they've just gone and fetched oodles of leaves from sort of moorland or specific places. They've gathered up these leaves, then they've washed them, they've coated them with some sort of resin just to protect them, and then they sold them like for £50 a bag. And florists and interior designers and wedding planners buy these things and use them as decorations, and they're things that they just gathered up when they've gone for a walk.
It's crazy.
It is balmy, so it's a great place. I mean, but flipping is a good one. I've seen memorabilia as well. If you've got to know what you're doing with memorabilia, but I have seen people who are clued up, and they'll go to America and look for certain photos, probably signed by Buzz Aldrin or Armstrong from NASA, and they know that they can buy it from America for say £250, and then go over to eBay or to the UK and sell it for twice as much, if not more. Because of the markets.
You can arbitrage it, and that works on and the other way as well. I mean, I've seen stuff where people have bought stuff from eBay, and then sold it on another platform such as Amazon. So like you've got this other. We should briefly just mention that. So there is another platform called Amazon FBA, which is okay. It's not quite as, you know, sort of not the same kind of thing. You don't auction stuff, but you can you sell your own goods on there, absolutely, just like you can on eBay. usually it tends to need a barcode, so it'll be something of, you know, like a DVD pack or books or
Yeah.
something that's in a box, usually new. You can sell used, but and I've seen real success from people just buying stuff off of one platform and then essentially selling it on another one, and just making a bit of money on this on in between that. And I've done that. I mean, I wrote an article about that on my blog about I used to use a popular shop in the UK, TK Maxx. So you could quite often find bargains in there, and then, you know, literally sell them on Amazon or eBay for, you know, put your markup on it. Even if it's 20-30% profit, if you're doing that every time, then that's great. That's brilliant.
That reminds me of a story, actually. It's a true story. It's a mate of mine. This was many years ago, actually, but Morrison's, the supermarket, I think it was Morrison's, was doing a special, I think it was like a 2-for-1 pack of Philips energy-saving light bulbs.
Yeah.
And he went and bought these 2-for-1 packs, split them, and then started selling them on eBay. And people were paying more for the one light bulb, plus the postage, than what he was buying them for Morrison's. So he was basically effectively doubling his money. And he was getting to the point where he went round to Morrison's, he lived around the corner, so he bought a load, and he would jump in the car, and then he'd drive off to Scunthorpe or Retford and other places like that, come back with these. And he was doing quite a little racket out of it, really. So, you know, like you say, it's not necessarily having to go to car boots or charity shops or thrift stores. You can actually do that from some of the top places.
My friend, he, we kind of sort of discovered Amazon around about the same time, about 3 years ago, and he now, so we both started off books and, you know, DVDs, and media is kind of the entry level on Amazon FBA. But there's people that sell, I mean, you can sell everything, you know, groceries, blimey, people buy, you know, like you say, stuff from supermarkets, fill up a shopping trolley, send it straight into Amazon and then sell it. But he now sells books, exclusively books, but he doesn't even touch them. He doesn't even see the book, okay? So he buys them from the US, from Amazon, okay? So he buys them from Amazon, US, as a used condition. So he buys them from all the merchant sellers. So these people that are selling them themselves. So primarily they're going to be a bit cheaper. He buys them from the US, doesn't see them, sends them straight into his Amazon FBA warehouse location, which is also in the US now. He's British, by the way. So he literally sits there, scans on, buys one, sends it to his prep center in the US. They basically stick a label on it, then put it in his Amazon FBA location, and then he sells it for profit. So he's buying from the same platform. He buys from Amazon, sells on the same platform 2 or 3 weeks later at a higher price. And it's all done literally from his laptop.
That's brilliant, because that's completely hands-free. I mean,
totally,
we're talking about using eBay to build this seed bank, seed bank of money for investing into other projects. But when you're selling your own stuff or your own records and stuff like that, it can be quite sort of labour intensive. But what he's doing there is just basically, you know, moving from one place to another.
There are some fees in that. It's probably not something that the beginner would want to do. He pays a company. He's already paying the company to do all the prepping and that. So he pays. There's already overheads. There's overheads on the software he uses, which scans to find which books are the cheapest and this, that, and the other. So there's a bit of it takes a while to get to that stage, but it's quite a nice little, you know, side gig. But so I mean, we've talked about eBay, which is a great entry point, I think, for anyone. Another one, I mean, there's loads, isn't there? Like there's loads of things, like you said. You know, you mentioned about the people collecting up things like driftwood and leaves and basically doing crafts, kind of any kind of crafty service. But I was scanning on Fiverr the other day. Fiverr, for those people that don't know, is a marketplace where people can offer out services. You can also buy, but usually it's kind of tech services. So stuff like, you know, blog post writing or graphics, or, you know, maybe some Excel work, or, you know, something of that nature. But there is a whole kind of section on that website which is completely kind of left field and totally non-tech based. And, you know, if you're prepared to kind of, again, put a bit of work in, I've seen things on there like people doing voiceovers. If you speak another language, then you're definitely on a winner, because, you know, translation, people will pay for you to translate a, you know, 1,000-word article, or just voice it, you know, read it in your native tongue. So there's voiceover translations. There's I've seen people offer up singing gigs, you know, basic singing gigs. There's, you know, all this kind of viral stuff that's going on now.
I was waiting for you to start saying the happy birthday song dressed as a carrot or something.
A happy birthday song dressed as a carrot, not for everyone, but, you know, there is all these types of things which I think people really need to just have a look at what is available out there, because there is, you know, for everyone.
Fiverr is a great place in many ways. I mean, I just used Fiverr a couple of times this week to get some animation video intros done. But I once did an experiment. I think was it early this year or last year? I was just kind of curious to see how easy it is to get sort of writing gigs. And like within a week or so, I'd knocked up over £100 worth of writing. Offering my services. I mean, there are people on there who try and offer big bucks, but not a lot of people really want to pay them. I suppose you've got to get the history. But I was starting with basically nothing. There was no feedback, nowhere. But I got to a point where I was getting multiple gigs from the same, like 2 or 3 people. What they'd liked. And and I knocked up £100 just from. The thing is, a lot of the articles that I was getting paid for was no more than sort of 300 words. And they'd send me a keyword or tell me what they wanted. And I mean, there's some of them, we mentioned this again in previous podcasts, I used my phone on some of them. I'd be sat downstairs watching the TV, mug of tea, typing something out ready for when I come up to the office. Or it wasn't really stretching my mind, so to speak, and it was quite easy. And this one, unlike with eBay and the records, you know, I didn't have to wrap them. I didn't have to go into the post office. I didn't have to worry about them not getting delivered or getting damaged. Just basically, I did it in a Google Doc, sent the link, and got paid. So Fiverr is good for that. It's a good place if you've got a skill that people need, and there is, you know, you've got ebook cover designers. You've got, as you said, there's people there who do animation, they do graphics, proofreading.
Proofreading's another one, yeah. If you've got an eye for detail and that sort of thing, proofreading, again, you know, set yourself up. Don't go in, you know, ridiculous, asking for stupid money, but, you know, if you just offered up a service for like £10 or something to begin with, you know, you will get some work, and that's kind of where it starts. And I think, like you said, a lot of it is kind of, you find with a lot of these things, you know, they open up doors and they open up other opportunities, which then lead on to other things, don't they? You know, you mentioned then, you know, your Fiverr gig little experiment that you set up the other week, you know, you made £100, but I bet you could probably, you know, the people that done multiple orders, you could pretty much strike up just a one-to-one with them and just say, look, how about we take it off here? Anything you want doing now on, you know, just come to me. And then before you know it, you could have I'm just saying this is, you know, rhetorical, but like people could have another, you know, £50, £100 a month from that one person. You know, they want regular stuff.
Yeah, one of the guys was, I get the feeling he was a website. I get the feeling he built websites to land them in Google searches for keywords and made money from either affiliate marketing or renting them out to certain companies.
Yeah.
Because I wrote about probably 10, possibly more articles based around a certain niche, certain set of keywords
Yeah.
in and around London. And I know full well that he sent me a message one day when he says, are you coming back? And I said, basically, no, I was just doing an experiment, see what I could do. And I had other stuff to do in the pipeline, but I knew that had I been carried on, he would have been coming back to me every week. I get the feeling that he was he did that thing on a regular basis. Yeah, and the fact that I believe I was delivering good content, he liked. So yeah, if you get yourself in a position where you can deliver, and like I say, it's not really they don't want to pay a lot of money on Fiverr.com. I mean, it's no longer Fiverr.com. It used to be $5, and that was it. But now you can charge more. But some people happily pay more if they know the quality is good. But at the start, they don't know.
No.
But at the same time, is that if they're only going to pay you $5 or $10 for something, they're not going to expect anything groundbreaking or fantastic.
No.
Because you don't want to be doing that for you don't want to be busting a gut for $5. But no, it is a great place to go.
So just quickly, we've got a few minutes left. I was just going to mention some other ones which are not really my cup of tea, but they might be to other people. So there is like a whole world of kind of very small micro earning type websites, which you can make a few quid here and there. Okay, again, you're not going to get rich, but there's all these types of sites. So we've got, you've got all these kind of survey-based sites. Again, I don't like them, but they are there. Some people do, and that's fine. So you've got all these survey sites. You've got these kind of micro workers type stuff. I'll put some links in the show notes, but they are available if you've got all the time under the sun, and you don't really mind doing that. Then yeah, they're there. There's all these kind of buyback stuff, cashback referral stuff, which is great if you're going to just look for that one-off fee. I often find with those things, they're all right if you're just about to change your car insurance or your life insurance, but everything other than that is a bit, it's literally pennies. But so they're all there, so you can add yourself a little pot together. So I think from the combination of stuff we've talked about tonight, whenever you're listening on this pod, is there should be enough, to get people to build that sort of initial pot.
You see, that's like you say, that's the thing. If it depends on what you're looking for. If you think that you need, say, £250, you haven't got £250. You need £250. It's either to invest in an online course or to buy some stock or to do something. Basically, you just sit down and you think, well, I need 250 quid. How am I going to get that? I can't get it out of my wage, everything. I'm stretched. My mortgage is tight. I've got food and family to worry about. And so you just sort of, I know people are desperate to get started on things, but if you pen down like a month and said, right, in this month now, my target is to generate that £250, which I will then use for. It's easy, it is doable. Like I say, with the Fiverr.com, it was about £100 odd. It was over £100, and that was in less than 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So that was just writing in the evening, spare time. I was also eBaying my records at the time. But yeah, so if you're looking for money to invest in a business or a business opportunity, to buy stock, it could be a course, it could be anything. But if you write down, say, let's decide that you're not going to jump in feet first, you're going to find a way to make the money, plan, say, a month or two, and then sort of work at it. And like you say, the things are there. Surveys, they pay peanuts in some ways. So in some ways, if that's what you want to do, that's fine. You get paid to watch videos on some of them, just to sit and watch.
Yeah, literally, yeah.
Which, to be fair, if you've got a mobile phone or a tablet and you start watching TV, you don't have to watch the video. You just stick it on and stick it next to you.
I mean, I've not really messed around with them too much. I literally have gone in and dabbled on a few. But yeah, they are, like you say, there's stuff out there.
But so I mean, it's all doable. So
I think that's my closing thought. Actually, the way you've just kind of wrapped that up there, I think we are getting on now for the sort of time. And my closing thought would be that it would be, don't say, I can't afford it. Change your mindset and say, how can I afford it? And like you just said then, there are an abundance of ways to earn that kind of seed starting capital, if you want to then go on and invest it into other things. Any more thoughts?
Yeah, just going back to one of our previous podcasts where we talked about time, the same thing like you said, don't say you can't afford it, find a way to afford it. Don't say you haven't got the time. Because in one of the previous podcasts we talked about where you sit down and you look at where you're spending your time, you'll find that there is probably half hour in an evening here. If you stop watching something, because a lot of people watch TV, think, just get into it, I ain't got the time. But you actually stop and think, why did I watch that? That time could have been spent doing some eBaying, doing a bit of Fiverr work or doing something like that. So put the two together, just sit down, figure out how you're going to do it, what time you got spare, and sort of go for it. I mean, as we've said, we've passed in a few examples here. You and I have made quite a bit of money selling all kinds of different things, one way or another, through eBay, Amazon, or Fiverr. And if we can do it,
yeah. So there you go. So that's I think that'll be it for this evening. For this podcast. So thanks very much for listening. My name's John Banks from SidingCommand.com, and I'm with
Andy Lehman. I'm from freedomskillsacademy.com. So just like to say thank you again for listening to episode 5 of the Freedom Hustles podcast, and we shall see you again next week.